Sherry, and you're inside Mom's Kitchen. And this summer, I want to give a video response to the next Food Network star. So each week, I'm going to give my take on if I were on the show, what I would do. And then we can all learn together. So this morning, the challenge was to put yourself on a breakfast plate. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to make my typical Saturday morning breakfast hash. One of the things that's really important when you are cutting these vegetables for the breakfast skillet is that you keep all of your vegetables cut at about the same size. And of course, I haven't gone to culinary school. I've just been a mom for almost 23 years. So I'm not exactly perfect with my knife skills, but that doesn't matter as long as they're about the same. I don't think we're in a rush. So one of the things I also like to do when I'm working with potatoes, if there's going to be oil involved, is I like to dry them off. That really helps the seasoning stick to them, and it gives them a nice browning. That wouldn't happen if you didn't take a little bit of the water from the potatoes out. So one of the things that I like to do when working with potatoes like this is I like to oil them and season them before putting them in the hot pan so that I have a chance to put all those flavors together. And I typically just eye my seasonings and then go back and tweak them. So that's what's happening right now. My pan is hot, and I'm just mixing those together, and because it's hot, we're going to hear, as they always say, that nice dissolve. That's the sound you're looking for. And with cast iron skillets, the handle stays hot, so I always have my hot pepper ready, and I give it a nice little shake, and it's going to start doing its thing while I work on everything else. So I like to do similar sized pieces with my red pepper and onions, and I'm going to put them in at the same time, together, in other words. While the phone was being answered, I also added a little more oil to my skillet and gave it a good shake. We want to get that nice, good golden color. And as Emma, my daughter who's helping me today, as she said, oh, it's getting a little smoky. So that was a good indication we need to do something with it, move it around, add a little bit more oil. One of the things that I'm doing with my Brussels sprouts is just cutting the little part at the end off a little bit. You don't have to do it. It's just something that I prefer. I think it's a little tough and coarse if you don't do that. And sometimes when I make Brussels sprouts, I just hack them, and I do more rustic cuts with onions and other vegetables. But for the hash, I really like to thin slice these. So it's just a thin slice. This is about the technique. And these are going to have a really nice golden color as they cook in with everything else. So this is about the color that I like with my potatoes before I add in the other vegetables. There's nothing worse than burnt onions in a hash. And so I like the onions to be just soft. And this is about the right look with the potatoes where you want to add in those other vegetables. I'm going to wait a few moments before I add in the Brussels sprouts because they'll cook really quickly. So I am checking for the tenderness right now of the potatoes. It's important that you use a fork and not a knife because a knife will go through much easier, and you really want to have that firm push through that just happened before you add anything else like my Brussels sprouts. So I'm adding these in, and of course I need to season these. I didn't season the onions and the peppers when I put them in because I knew I would be doing that with the Brussels sprouts. So here again, I want to duplicate the same seasonings that I did with the potatoes. And, you know, I eye it. I just take about a pinch and sprinkle it around. This is coarse salt, which I prefer in cooking over table salt. Although, speaking of Mom's Kitchen, my mom always used just the normal salt, and her food tasted great, so feel free to use whatever you want to. I like to go light on the pepper, although I know some people like heavy pepper. It's up to you. And I like to play around with different seasonings, but today I'm just doing the basic flavor palette that would appeal to most people. So if you notice, the color of the Brussels sprouts is kind of a muted green, and as these cook, that color is going to brighten. That's a good indicator for the doneness of the Brussels sprouts. There's nothing worse, and I think we were all forced to eat them when we were kids, with that pasty, green, overcooked Brussels sprout that, you know I personally would spit it out in my napkin and try and hide it and throw away from my mom. Sorry, Mom, confession is good for the soul. But in my kitchen, I make sure I don't overcook the Brussels sprouts. So you're gonna see that this will start to brighten, and that's a great indicator. I'm also not gonna mess with it too much because I want to get that same golden color on the Brussels sprouts that I got on the potatoes. Starting to look really good. If you'll notice, the Brussels sprouts color has changed a little bit. I'm going to turn the heat down because I don't want to overcook the vegetables. I have had my egg skillet pan preheating, and being able to cook a fried egg and not breaking the yolk is definitely an acquired skill. It takes a lot of broken eggs and practices, as all three of my daughters know. And there are some tricks to make it a little easier. First of all, you want to start with a pan that's preheated but not too hot. So once I get it preheated and I can use my hand to feel the temperature, an electric skillet is much different than a gas. So I'm going to bring my heat down so that the pan doesn't continue to get too hot. And I have my egg. I've got a little bit of fat. I want to make sure this doesn't stick, so I like to use olive oil, just a little bit, and actually the shape of that is going to help with the shape of the egg. So on a pan this size, you probably only want to try and do one egg. If you want to do more than one egg, it is best to use a larger pan so that there isn't too much of the egg. It makes it difficult to flip if you do more than one. As you can see, I've turned the heat off on my skillet. That's a really good look. Maybe the Brussels sprouts are a little done more than I would like, but it's going to be fine. It's going to be a lot of flavor. I'm going to season my egg with the pepper first. I'm making this egg for Emma. She loves lots of black pepper. And one thing with salt and eggs is you want to add salt towards the end because of the way the salt draws out the water from the egg. So you don't want to do it immediately, and I just do light salting. And once it gets to this look, I will start to use a soft spatula, a pancake turner, some people call it, and I will very gently move underneath, and you can see that nothing is sticking underneath. And once most of the base of the egg is white, that's when I'll go near the yolk, lift it up, and sometimes you have to tilt the pan, and gently fold it over. Then I let it rest. Most of the people in my family enjoy over medium eggs. So there's that delicate balance with a cooked white and a soft egg yolk still, but not so runny that, you lose the form. So I'm going to shake this a little bit just to make sure that that egg is moving so that when I go to flip it over, it's not stuck at the bottom and the egg yolk spills everywhere. So that's what we're waiting on right now. So this looks really good. There's a lot of good golden color on this. And I like to serve the hash with the fried egg on top. There's something about breaking into that egg yolk and just having all that moisture covering, giving a really nice, rich flavor to the hash that you've made. So now that our egg is looking pretty good, and I think the yolk is just right, it's time to eat. Welcome to the first episode of Mom's Kitchen.